we have the right to inhabit our land, to use our land.
Our culture is about sustaining that relationship with the plants, the animals, in a forest.
I did start drawing a lot in the residential school, really not knowing my culture and traditions.
And I'm very proud to be here today. My name is Halos, and this is my squia.
Welcome again to Voices of, you ready, Chief?
Ready.
Shishalh. I got to drag the tongue. It's pretty obvious we're very excited. We've got a house full of people. We're in the Longhouse, the sacred Longhouse. This is the Chief's show, and by personal invitation, he asked, requested, and was accepted by Pamela Martin to come and visit. And we've had some very distinguished guests on this program. But Pamela, I think you probably fulfill the most in terms of things you've done. I printed this out from Wiki. Oh. Did you know you're on Wiki? There are two parts. The fact that you were born in Detroit, you would have been born in the Motown era as a kid.
I was.
So you and Smokey Robinson. And then you competed and won Miss Teen USA. I mean, I know you keep hearing that.
That was quite a few years ago, Michael.
Indeed. 70s, you came to British Columbia, went to Czech television.
I did.
And then you were the first female reporter on CKNW, which is hard to believe, but there it is.
I know.
Wow. And then, of course, came the Cameron and Keith years at BCTV, which,
Yes.
of course, a lot of people gained much knowledge about the news business from those two, and then CTV. Of all of your experience, Chief, what part of that interests you in terms of the broadcast side before we get to the current job?
Well, history is repeating itself. Smokey Robinson is in Vancouver on Friday.
I know.
You're not serious.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have tickets.
I want to be there.
The miracle.
I have tickets. I have to relive my past. I'm a big fan.
But Pam and I met quite a few years ago when I was an administrator out in the west coast of Vancouver Island. And she was doing a traveling doctor documentary. And just by accident, we got to meet. And I kind of used her communication skills to expose what I was trying to do out there. And it worked. And I just wanted to relate that to Pamela, because what had happened there in exposing the government made great hurdles of accomplishing what I was trying to achieve. So bringing back that notion for today, almost 30 years ago, is that we're endeavoring to do the very same thing here at shishalh. And the reason I wanted Pam to be here is because we are on the threshold of getting involved in communication, using it as a tool to expose where my people are going, where the Shishalh Nation are going in the future. And those things are going to happen quite rapidly because we're in heavy negotiations. So I wanted to have our people experience what we've gone through. I wanted Pamela to comment how communication can work for our people.
Over to you.
Well, first of all, I'm just delighted to be here in this beautiful, extraordinary longhouse, and I'm just really happy to be in the shishalh territory. How am I doing?
Better than me.
Okay. Yeah. And yes, I remember that story all those many years ago. Thank you for bringing back that memory. I did a lot of stories that had great meaning and hopefully, meaning for me and hopefully impact on the province and meaning for other people. And, there's nothing like exposing things on the mass media of television for getting things changed or informing people about it. And I think what you're doing is brilliant, I want to say. It really is. I think this is the path forward, is to communicate and to show the rest of the province about your culture and what you're doing here and what you're thinking. So congratulations, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
One of the things that I think we are very rapidly becoming is centered on the whole issue of rights and title. And normally most Canadians with even a patina of knowledge would think, well, it's a nation of people who want land. Who doesn't? But once you hear from the chief, and Chief, you tell this story as well as anybody, rights and title isn't just about land. It isn't just about regaining territories taken away. It's a cultural tsunami. And I wonder if maybe you just explain the depth of what that means to you.
In 30 seconds. Well, we are, again, promoting our self-government. As you're probably aware, Pam, we've been self-governing now for 28 years. But the vision of our former leaders and the old chiefs was that they always wanted to regain independence of a way of life that they had grown up with. And with the value of this land and the meaning of this house, thousands of years of history are built into these walls, into the ground, in the Mother Earth. And what we're trying to do now is to rebuild our government on those very values, the culture of our people, the culture of our land. And we're bringing that back. We're bringing that back in our language. We're bringing that back in our songs. The young people are picking up the songs again, and they're picking up the culture. So a whole new way of life is being reestablished. And that's what we're endeavoring to do with our reconciliation that we're happen to have right now. We are in heavy negotiations with the province, and that is moving ahead quite rapidly. And we're proud to say that probably in this next year, we're going to be one of 3 nations that the reconciliation and settlement will happen. But the other thing that we're endeavoring to do is collaborate with the local governments, share with the community of what our culture is, who our people are, and where they came from, and what they have planned for their future. And the reason why we invited some young people is that we wanted them to be aware of where we're going and aware of what their future is going to be. And they have a right to identify what they want in their future. So that's one of the reasons why they're here.
So like all TV shows, we have to throw it a break. When we come back, we're going to take some questions from young people, and we're going to invite each one of them to come and take a seat and to ask a question. So while you're thinking about what you might like to ask a woman who has been involved in probably one of the finest news centers in all of North America, we'll take a break on Voices of Shishalh.
Today we have the Forestry Expo, a jobs expo, and the intention is to draw interest from Shishalh Indian Band community members, and we've got Interfor here with us and Capacity Forestry Management, and they've been really helpful with providing training outlines and employment opportunities for membership.
Something that's really evolved in our industry in the last 5 or 10 years is that recognition and respect for First Nations and their unique ties and rights associated with their traditional territories. It's something that Interfor definitely has a lot of recognition and respect for those rights. So for us, we feel that it's really important that we work with First Nations communities in the areas where we are within their traditional territory and have them fully incorporated into how we do things out there. So right now, because we're going into the spring, we're focusing on silviculture opportunities and specifically tree planting. There's going to be a training session coming up through Capacity Forest Management in March, and we're going to follow that up with a work experience opportunity for folks that have gone through the training and think tree planting might be for them. Get them out on the ground, get them out planting trees with one of our planting contractors, and hopefully get them into the workforce.
The training is called Capacity Land Management Stewardship. And this training will be March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, based out of here.
Shishalh band members can contact me anytime in our education office, and you can come and talk to me about what the opportunities are, and we can make a plan for accessing the programming and employment. Our intention today is to draw interest in the community in the forestry industry, and we've done that. We've had a lot of youth and our employables come out to see what we have. And the idea that what we really hope for is for the membership to access the training and then get working.
I came down here today to check out the Forest Expo, and I basically came in because I was interested in some future training coming up that has to do with tree planting, and basically I wanted to get along to the tail end of the training, which is falling and machine operating, but I was raised by a father who did falling and brushing in the past, and I'd like to see it grow again, either in SIB 4 or Inter 4 combining with our band again. I'd like to see kids my age and young adults my age able to run a chainsaw like their fathers used to. And it's something that I look forward to in our nation.
So I think it was in about 2012 there was a study that came out that said that we're going to have about 9,000 to 10,000 positions short in the next 10 years. So really right now is the time for us to be getting young folks interested and wanting to come into the forest industry. You know, some people think that it's a sunset industry, but there's tons still going on, and it's a great place for young people that want to build a career out in the outdoors.
And once again, we're very happy to welcome you to the Voices of Shishalh. Today we have Pamela Martin, and she's going to share some of her insights of being in journalism with our young people who are in grade 10, 11, and 12, who are thinking about their career and thinking about their future. So I'm going to ask Pam to carry it on from here.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Well, you have remarkable young people. I'm just amazed. So Landon, I know you've got big plans. You want to join the Air Force, you said?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, is there any question I might answer for you? Like, why did I become a journalist?
Yeah, that one.
That's the question? Okay. Well, that's a good question. I started out really wanting to learn about the world. I was a very, very curious person, naturally. And when I was about your age, there was a very major political story in the U.S. I lived in the U.S., and that was Watergate. President Nixon was still in office, and there were two reporters from the Washington Post who did a big investigation over a long period of time. It's a very famous case, and they eventually forced the president to resign. And they were young, unknown, what we call cub reporters. And they became extremely famous, and they've had wonderful careers since then. But they inspired an entire generation of people to want to be journalists, to get to the bottom of things, to expose the truth, to hold politicians accountable, to just inform people about things happening in their community, or teach people about, wonderful things that they would like to know about. And that was really what motivated me. I guess I was inspired by them. The whole business has changed. It used to be that everybody would come home at 6 o'clock and sit down and watch TV together and talk about the news. But people don't come home at 6 o'clock anymore very often, and they already know the news because they've seen it on the internet all day. So I guess what I'm thinking is, part of the transition is that people are telling their own stories, which is exactly what you're doing, is telling your own story, not relying on the mainstream media to tell it for you.
Thanks very much, Pam, for that.
And thank you.
Thanks, Landon.
Okay, now. I have Austin here. Hello, Austin.
Hello, Pamela.
And you are going to be a hockey player. You are a hockey player. You just told me you're going to Philadelphia to play hockey. Amazing. That's fantastic. Good for you.
Thank you. My question is, what was it like for you as a young woman in the business of reporting when men had the male dominance?
It was interesting. It was definitely a challenge to be the first woman, or sometimes the second woman, in every job I ever held. So it's being a trailblazer, as the chief knows. He's got the same experience as the first chief, I believe, to have his own TV show. So, it's always a challenge because you're trying to change something. And you're trying to change, in my case, people's perception. Obviously, women are just as able to report on the news as men. Women report look at the world differently than men, and it's important to have both points of view. And I think in everything in life, even in hockey.
Okay, thank you, Pamela, for answering my question.
All right, thank you, Austin, and good luck to you.
Well, we certainly want to thank Pamela for her perspective on the barriers that she's broken. It's similar to what the shishalh people have done in breaking down the barriers, becoming self-government. We were condemned for doing that 30 years ago, but we're living proof that it is working. So we'll move on to the next question for Pamela. Any questions, sweetheart?
How did you become Miss Teen USA?
How did I become that?
Miss Teen USA.
Miss Teen USA. Well, you know, it was kind of almost a dare. I think someone, my brother, said to me, why don't you, I bet you wouldn't have the nerve to enter this contest. And I was pretty young, probably about your age, 15. I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people and to give speeches and learn how to walk into a room and speak to people and communicate, reach out, connect. I traveled a lot and all over the United States and Japan and a few other places. And I think I have mixed feelings about the pageant world, to be honest with you. I feel like it maybe places too much emphasis on things like appearance, maybe superficial things. But there are also very good things about it because many young women get scholarships, for example. So I can't be against it. It was a great experience for me. Hi.
Hi, my name is Joseph.
Hi, Joseph.
My question to you is, where do you plan on going with the industry?
With the industry?
Yeah.
Well, I have been in the industry for 35 years, and I'm actually not planning a great future in news at this point. I love news. It's in my blood. I can never really stop being a news junkie. But at the same time, I've branched out into other areas. I don't know if you know this, but I now work as the Director of Engagement for the BC Liberal Party. When I left journalism, I decided to help Christy Clark in her bid for the leadership of the Liberal Party, and she won. And then a short while later, she appointed me to the Director of Outreach in her office. And in that capacity, I was able to travel around the province a bit and reach out to many different groups of people, including First Nations, and invite them to come into the Premier's office and speak to her and learn about what the BC government was doing and tell the government what they want the government to do. And that was my job. I'm not actually in that job anymore, but so I guess what I'm saying is I'm taking a different path now.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. And here's our youngest one, I think.
Hi, my name's Grace, and my question for you was, what education do you need to become a journalist?
Well, I always think that the more you know about everything, the better you are as a journalist. I think today it's actually very, very competitive, so you probably should get some kind of training in journalism. So if you got a degree in journalism, that's helpful. But you don't necessarily have to do that. I think in many ways the best thing to do is to just get into the business and start trying to find a way to start reporting if that's what you want to do. You could be at a local TV station or radio station or newspaper. You can just getting some experience as an intern, even working in the summer. The more experience you have, the better, and it helps you decide what part of the business you actually want to work in. Because like a lot of things, you can't really learn it until you start doing it. As the chief knows, it's important that we communicate, and really that's what it's about. We have to communicate to each other. We have to share our knowledge and exchange points of view. Otherwise, it's impossible to move forward. We need to be able to form partnerships and relationships, and that is the path ahead. And so communication is absolutely critical in whatever form it is.
Well, thank you for answering my question.
All right, thank you for asking, Grace.
At this point, I want to thank Pamela for her comments. I think she gave a great understanding of what the open field is in terms of communication. There's various fields you can get into, being a technician. But I think the main thing is breaks you out of your shell, breaks you out of your barrier, so that you become a leader, you become a great public speaker. There's an open field there. I want to thank Pamela and the students for participating. From this point on, I think we'll just take a break. I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for listening.
Up to 1/4 of the world's coastal temperate rainforests are in British Columbia, and they're among the most productive ecosystems on Earth. Everything in the forest has a role, from 400-year-old trees that shelter nesting birds to fallen logs that support new life. We must all work together to conserve the rainforest. To find out more about Canada's rainforests and how you can help protect them, visit hww.ca.
Welcome back to Voices of Shishalh. One of the things we'd like to leave you with is a little bit of the culture of this nation, because prior to my arriving here, I thought I knew what culture was. But in fact, I have been completely reformed as to what it means. Candace Kempo, who is the Director of Culture, has undertaken almost a revolution of bringing it to the surface and making people aware, both members and non-members. And her story of how shishalh people came to this land is well worth hearing.
Thank you, Michael.
Love
first,
to hear it.
Yeah, first of all, I just wanted to thank you, Pamela, for meeting with our youth and sharing with them about communication and some of the great opportunities they could have if they pursued. We are the descendants of the Spillamoth, the divine creatures that the Creator sent from the heavens, and He brought down to this area that we know today as the Sunshine Coast. The Creator had brought His children down to this area, and He brought them down and He gave them special gifts and talents. And He brought them to specific locations throughout the region. And He gave them one message in life, and that was that they must always share their gifts and their strengths with each other. And that's how we came to be the shishalh people.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So part of having Pamela on, we've had the kids, we've talked, the chief has explained about rights and title and the importance of land to the people. But I think there's a real synergy between what you both do. Now, chief is chief, which means that irrespective of how well loved he is, it's a dangerous job. There's always somebody there. And so he has to work in that sort of rarefied atmosphere of being the decision maker with his council, and at the same time having members that elected him that maybe have differing points of view. You're almost the missionary in the boiling pot yourself now that you're in big. So what do you find different? I mean, there isn't necessarily any built-in respect in working in politics the way when you're on an anchor on a news show, people will give you all kinds of latitude, but now you're in the gunfire.
I know. Well, you know, truly, actually, Michael, I'm not, because I'm not elected. So while I work with elected officials, in fact, you know, I don't have to, and I don't represent the government of British Columbia. I can't speak on behalf of the government, but I work with them. I know the Premier very well, and her team, which is amazing. It's an amazing team of people, and I'm very familiar with their core values. And you know, my job is to reach out to British Columbians and try to and listen and bring back to the Premier and to her government what the people are saying. You know, it's very, very important to this Premier that she doesn't lose touch with what the people in the province are thinking and saying, with the grassroots, so to speak. you know, I really want to get people more engaged with the government. I'm very fearful of the fact that there's a lot of apathy, as we all know, especially locally, but even provincially as well. We want to make sure, we want people to know that we want their input, that they can influence their government, they can influence decisions. And even if the government doesn't, you know, necessarily do what you want them to do, it's important to be telling them what your thoughts are, what you think should be done about every issue, including First Nations.
Chief, I think in closing, what would you like that message to be so that Pamela can convey your thoughts?
I think the message that we want to send with Pamela, and we're going to adopt Pamela as one of our sisters now.
Oh, good. Great. I'm available for adoption.
Great. And the message that we're going to send is that we've shared our vision with many people, many politicians. We share that now with Pamela, but we would like her to carry that vision to the Parliament, that we had a vision and we remained focused over the last 30 years. We wanted to be independent, we wanted to fit into the community, and we have struggled and we have worked very hard to do that. So I'd like Pamela to carry that message on. She's met all of our young people, they have aspirations, they have visions, they want to become part of the fabric of Canada. And I think when they get exposed to that, they will challenge that, they will work hard. And the shishalh people are working hard, and we're going to accomplish, we're going to achieve, we're going to be successful.
Well, I will definitely take that message, and I just want you to know how much I admire you and all the work that you've done, and I know that it is very difficult to be the one person who's standing up for what you believe when everyone else is saying that's not the way. But you did it, and it took great strength to do it, and I think that you are reaping the benefits today and will going forward. Because ultimately, that's what we all want, is to find a way to have opportunity for all of us and to go forward and all of us be allowed to fulfill our dreams. And, you know, whether it's being a hockey player in Philadelphia as this young man, or joining the Air Force as this one over here, or becoming a journalist like the young woman. I mean, we want all of our children to have all these great opportunities, and we can do that if we work together. And I think I just admire you so much.
Thank you very much, Pamela.
So, Chief, there was a question, and this will be the closing question. Justin Trudeau, when we had interviewed him, and then everybody, the cameras were off, he asked me, he said, do you suppose that if this chief and this nation gets all the lands that they feel they are due because of history, will that settle them down? Will that be the end? Will they go about their business? And I asked Chief later when we were doing the bookending of that show, I said, is that the end when you get your lands? And if you recall, you said there was healing that needed to be done.
That's true. The vision of our people was to be not only self-government, independent of any other government, but the final straw would be that there would be recognition and title to our lands. And then once we've gained that final mark, then our people would go into not only education, but determining and being self-determining. And in the end, but in order to accomplish that, we have to get rid of the rubbish that we've accumulated over the last 150 years that was left to us by European nations who invaded our territory. We have to go out and clean up our land. We have to go and clean up our act. And our people got to get accustomed to governing themselves once again. And that's going to be very difficult.
And of course, the healing that will come particularly from residential schools, that will take generations perhaps.
Yeah, it's been probably 5 generations that we have to overcome. And I think the young people see that that can be accomplished. They know and understand and see that there is a future for them here.
Thank you for watching. It has been a most interesting show. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Candace. To the kids who came on and asked those questions, those were excellent, and your futures are secured now. So we'll see you in another 2 weeks. This is Voices of Shishalh, starring Chief Calvin Cragen. Thank you, and good day.
Halos, and this is my squeal.